What's going on, YouTube? Back in the garage again. In this video I'm going to be going over my Honda CRX and how I made 312 horsepower at the wheels. It's nothing special, it's just a stock B20. I was not able to film the whole dyno session due to my memory card on this camera got corrupted and I was not able to film it, but I was able to get a few clips here and there on my phone so I can share it with you guys. Before we get into it, please like and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. It'll give me more motivation to put out more videos for YouTube. Alright, let's just jump right into it and I'll show you what all I've done to the CRX.
What you think? 312. We hit it. There you go.
Alright, YouTube, here is my B20 stock boosted setup I have. It made 312 horsepower at 16 psi. Let me start with the fuel. It's currently tuned on 93 pump gas. I could go with 80 EA5, but currently the gas stations around me do not offer EA5. I would have to drive a good distance to get EA5, and I didn't want to do that to fill up my tank. Eventually I will be switching to EA5, and once EA5 is more available in my area. The fuel pump is a 450 CFM wall bar fuel pump in tank. Then it comes to a fuel line tuck that is running on Russell fuel I forget what micron it is. Russell fuel filter coming right out of the firewall into a little bit larger diameter fuel line. I know it's kind of hard to see, it's kind of a little bit of a spaghetti mess down there. Then it comes to AEM fuel rail with an AEM fuel pressure regulator. It's currently sitting at around 60 psi at idle. The fuel injectors I'm running are Hunter Tune decapped Flex Fuel GM injectors. I highly recommend them. They worked out great. He tests them and flow matches them in sets for you. And they're really cheap. I think I paid $100 for the set at the time. It might be a little bit more. I think I got them on sale. Distributor I'm running is an OEM distributor. I tried a eBay brand new one. It just did not work. Could not get it to time correctly. Just a cheap distributor. So I just ended up using an OEM one, and it worked out a hell of a lot better. Edelbrock intake manifold and a 70mm throttle body. The intercooler piping I believe is a 2.5-inch intercooler piping, and the intercooler itself, I don't remember the dimensions, but it comes up pretty high. It's almost up to here, and is obviously pretty low. It's a half back door, so the turbo is literally right there. And it used to come out the side here, capped that off, made into a half back door, and it comes out that side into up towards the blow-off valve. The turbo manifold that I'm running is a full race turbo manifold, ram horn for EF chassis. I highly recommend them. They're just a little bit on the pricey side. You don't necessarily have to run this manifold. There's plenty of manifolds out there that are good, but there are ram horns that are not good, that you don't want to run. It will not control your wastegate correctly, or inaccurately, sorry. The turbo I'm running is a EM USA eBay turbo. It's a 5063 T3 T4 hybrid turbo. I've had this turbo for many years now, and I think it's currently on its way out. It still works perfectly fine. I'm going to keep running it until it completely lets loose. The radiator I'm running is a Skunk 2 Alpha EF chassis specific radiator. I relocated the tabs at the bottom to move the radiator farther or closer to the front, and I notched the top rad support a little bit so I can get a little bit more distance from the rad from the manifold. As you can see, it is really close. The downpipe on it is a 3-inch downpipe running to a 3-inch catback exhaust, and has no cat. Actually, that wouldn't be a catback, it would be just a 3-inch exhaust. The muffler on it is a Flowmaster muffler. It sounds good. It's not like real loud. Well, it's loud when you really get on it, but it has a nice tone to it. The wastegate is a tile wastegate, 38 millimeter with a 10-pound spring in it. I originally had a 5-pound spring in it, and I was going to run boost by gear and slowly creep it up in third gear to 16 psi. But unfortunately, the solenoid was not working out correctly, so I ended up putting a 10-pound spring in it and installing a manual boost controller. I think this is a Turbo X something manual boost controller, which is perfectly fine. They're not the most reliable thing to do. You can get boost creeps with them, but that's why you have boost cut sets to so you don't overboost. Again, it's 16 psi. I don't recommend going any higher than 10 psi on a B20, but if you're constantly driving your car, I don't constantly drive this car, it's not my daily driver, and I dialed it up to 16 psi just because I wanted that 300 mark. It did, and it held it, and it did not blow up. I'm sure eventually the sleeves will crack if I'm constantly beating the crap out of it. The rev limiter was dropped down to 7,000 RPM, so I'm not revving it so really high and lower the risk of cracking a sleeve. It's tuned using a Honda version 3 Honda. Did I even say that right? Honda version 3 with a P28 ECU. The transmission in the car is the LS transmission with the OBX LSD diff, which is perfectly fine, and it will withstand the 300 horsepower easily. It's just not the ideal transmission to run with a boosted setup. Anything else? My catch can, I'm running 2 AM fittings off the back of the valve cover going to my catch can. I also have 2 AM fittings coming out of the block to the catch can itself. This ensures that the extra pressure that's inside the motor has somewhere to go. I highly recommend putting some kind of catch can on your boosted setup. If not, you're going to start blowing seals out of your motor. I am currently having a little bit of heating problems where, since the rad is so close to the downpipe and so close to the turbo manifold, eventually it gets heat soaked, and I have to let it cool down. That's only if I'm really laying into it for a long period of time, and it will eventually get pretty hot and I have to let it cool down a little bit. So in turn, I'm going to be making a heat shield that goes from this side of the car in front of the wastegate and in between the turbo manifold and downpipe to cause like a heat barrier, so it also will channel all the air to go towards the rad itself. Hopefully it works out. If not, I'll come up with something else. Unfortunately, I live in northeast Pennsylvania, and I cannot well, I can run water wetter, but I would have to change it out in the at the winter times because it doesn't really have a really low freeze point. So I don't want to put that stuff in and forget about it and end up cracking my block because it gets real cold during the winter. Other than that, it's pretty much it. It's a pretty easy setup. Anybody can do it. You don't need a whole lot of money to boost B20. A lot of the stuff on this car is overkill for what you need for what it's doing right now. I just so happen to have it, so I bolted it on. I have a AEM wideband that is on a 3-inch downpipe, and it is also tied into the Hondatas for data logging. Trying to think of anything else. It's pretty much it. Yeah, 16 psi, it made 312 horsepower. When we first threw it on with the 5-pound spring, it actually only made 4 psi and it was 198 horsepower. That's pretty impressive for only 4 psi. Alright YouTube, that's going to wrap up this video of my B20 non-VTEC turbo that made 312 horsepower. It's a very simple build. It's not much to it. Anybody can do it. I just recommend that you keep it around 10 psi to be on a safe side. If you go any higher than that, you're just rolling a dice and taking a gamble. I'm willing to take that gamble, and it worked out. How long is it going to last? Only time will tell. If you found this video helpful or interesting, please like and subscribe. It will help grow my channel and keep me motivated to make more videos. I do have a lot more things coming out pertaining to the CRX and also the other projects I have at my shop. Till next time, take it easy, be safe out there.